Welcome to this special podcast, sponsored by Murphy Business Sales Edison, New Jersey office, where your business aspirations meet expert guidance. Whether you're looking to sell your business or explore new acquisition opportunities, we are here to support you every step of the way. Join us as our hosts deep dive into small business topics which are relevant for buyers, sellers, and other transaction advisors in the ecosystem.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough in the world of business transactions. The emotional psychology of selling your company. You know, we all see the headlines, you see the huge dollar sign, and you just assume it's this moment of pure victory. But the sources we've pulled together for today, well, they paint a very different picture. It's less of a finish line and much more of an emotional roller coaster.
That is the absolute core of what we need to unpack today. Our whole mission here is to look past the financial transaction and really analyze this intense spectrum of emotions owners go through. Sure, there's excitement, there's relief, but the sources show these really deep currents of anxiety, grief, and sometimes a full-blown identity crisis. The stakes they're huge. This isn't just a financial change, it's an existential one.
Okay, let's jump right into that because it feels like the central paradox of this whole journey.
Yeah.
One of our sources has this incredible line from a mentor, a guy who'd sold multiple businesses. He tells the CEO, "Congrats on selling your business. Now get ready for a depression." How does that even happen? How does achieving this massive goal lead to grief instead of joy?
Well, it really gets at the psychology of creation, For maybe a decade or even longer, an entrepreneur's entire life, their schedule, their social life, their nervous system, it's all been built around the demands of the business. And when that's suddenly gone, that sudden absence of high-stakes problems creates this enormous vacuum. It's almost like a chemical crash.
So it's not the money that's the problem. It's the loss of the struggle, the identity.
Exactly. For 20 years, you're founder of X or CEO of Y. Who are you the day after the sale? The sources often compare it to your child leaving the nest. You know it's the right move, but it's deeply, deeply bittersweet. That total freedom, without the deadlines and the mission, it leaves a lot of owners feeling completely unanchored. And, this is critical, they feel like they're lacking reasons to keep trying.
And this brings us to that extreme example we found. Marcus Persson, the creator of Minecraft. He sells for $2.5 billion, and then what happens? He starts tweeting about feeling incredibly isolated.
Yeah, that tweet thread is just a fascinating window into this. He said that human interaction becomes impossible due to imbalance.
An imbalance of wealth.
Right. It fundamentally changes your social dynamics. Think about it. All your old friendships were built on, shared struggles. Complaining about work, saving up for something. Suddenly you can't relate to any of that anymore.
You're on a totally different planet financially.
And that creates this profound loneliness. And that's before you even get to the practical questions, like how do you deal with family members who suddenly see you as a walking ATM?
And it's not just a problem for tech billionaires.
Yeah.
This hits just as hard, maybe harder, in multi-generational family businesses.
Oh, absolutely. There's this one case in the research about a commercial real estate owner. The business was, I think, 3 generations old. He gets this huge payout, but he just feels this incredible remorse.
Because the legacy is gone.
The legacy is gone. His kids and grandkids can't work in the family business anymore. And to add another layer, this guy grew up during the Great Depression. He had this deep, this scarcity mentality. He wasn't even comfortable being rich.
So the money felt like a burden, not a relief.
For him, it was. It wasn't connected to his identity, which was all about building something for the next generation to run, not just to inherit.
That's a huge distinction. Okay, so we've covered the emotional fallout after the sale. Let's pivot now to what happens during the sale. How does all this fear and identity crisis turn into actual, tangible deal killers? The sources call them emotional traps.
This is where it gets really interesting because you see this internal chaos start to manifest externally in ways that can just sabotage the whole deal.
And it often starts with stalling, right?
Exactly. Stalling is the classic protective reaction. An owner starts delaying sending over financials, or they keep moving meetings. The buyer sees this and thinks, this person's incompetent.
We're not serious about the deal.
Right. But what's really happening subconsciously is the owner is buying time. Committing to the timeline feels like committing to the end of their identity. So they hit the brakes, they start revisiting tiny non-material details in the contract just to slow the whole thing down.
That's a fascinating insight. What about due diligence? That must feel like a personal attack.
It absolutely can. The buyer, for very rational reasons, needs proof that the business can run without the founder. They need to see systems, processes.
But the founder hears, are you even necessary?
Precisely. They hear it as a judgment on their leadership. And the emotional pain of that is real. If this business runs without me, who am I? And that's when you see the defensiveness kick in. They push back, they resist, and it just creates friction.
Okay, so if defensiveness slows a deal down, what's the one thing that just completely destroys it?
Backtracking. This is the ultimate deal killer. An owner agrees to all the main terms, the price, the structure, and then weeks later they come back and try to change something major.
Like asking for more cash up front.
Exactly. Or reintroducing a condition they already waived. To the buyer, this isn't negotiation, it's emotional volatility. It shatters their confidence that this person can actually go through with the deal. Trust is just gone.
And what about the perfectionists? The ones who want everything to be flawless before they hand over the keys?
Yeah, that's another trap. They think they need to present this immaculate business with perfect numbers. But in M&A, buyers just need clean and reliable data. They don't need perfection.
And waiting for perfection just kills momentum.
It kills momentum and it makes the buyer question if you're truly committed. You have to remember that statistic, only something like 30 or 40% of businesses on the market actually end up selling. Stalling for perfection is a great way to end up in the 60% that don't.
So this all points to one thing. You have to shift from just reacting to these emotions to proactively planning for them. The core idea seems to be defining what's next before the deal even closes.
That is the single most important non-negotiable step. The owners who navigate this well, they define their personal goals before they even talk to a buyer. It reframes the entire process.
Can we get more specific? What kind of goals are we talking about here?
It needs to be really comprehensive. Things like your future personal spending, any gifts or inheritance you plan to give, charitable goals, and, of course, the tax implications of it all. Knowing you want to start a foundation in 5 years, for example, completely changes how you'd want to structure the deal today.
So that personal plan actually dictates the deal structure. It's not the other way around.
It should be. Once you know your goals, you can properly evaluate the trade-offs. The higher potential of an earnout versus the security of an all-cash deal. If your main goal is a safe retirement, cash is king no matter what the potential upside of stock is.
And this planning extends to the family, too. You mentioned some pretty shocking research about why family wealth often disappears.
Yeah, this finding is it's staggering. Most family wealth isn't lost because of bad investments or market downturns.
It's lost because of bad communication.
A complete failure of communication and a lack of shared values. The family basically implodes from the inside out, which means owners have to get their inner circle, their spouse, their kids together to talk about values and create a vision for the future.
And the sources mentioned creating a governance plan. That sounds a little corporate for a family. What does it actually mean?
It just means writing down the rules of the road. It's a plan for how the family will manage the wealth together. It sets rules for philanthropy, for spending policies, for how a family member could get capital to start their own business. It brings structure to a topic that can otherwise create chaos.
It makes the uncomfortable conversations structured and proactive.
Exactly. You're making decisions based on values you all agreed on, not just reacting to random requests for money.
Okay, so that handles the financial and family side. What about all the other relationships? Employees, friends? Communication there seems just as critical.
It's vital. You have to make sure your key stakeholders hear the news from you first, not from a press release. Your parents, your kids, your long-term employees. Giving them the news personally is a huge sign of respect.
And the sources had that awful story about what happens when you don't.
Yes. The college kid who found out his family's business was sold because his roommate read it in the news. He was, understandably, furious. It created this huge rift, not just about money, but about trust.
You also have to prep for the awkward questions.
Oh, definitely. You need a ready answer for, must be nice, or so what are you going to do with all that money? If you don't have a confident, simple response, you just invite more awkwardness.
There's also the social shift. Your relationships with old colleagues, they're going to change overnight.
That's a huge vacuum people don't anticipate. And you also have to manage expectations at home. If you're suddenly around 24/7, that can be disruptive. You have to talk with your spouse and family about boundaries and what this new life looks like for everyone.
To help with that initial what now feeling, the sources recommend a simple game plan for the first 6 months.
Yes, this is so important. You need to fill that purpose vacuum right away. The advice is to pick 3 to 5 areas to focus on for those first 6 months. It could be getting finances organized, starting a new health routine, planning some travel, just something to give you structure and momentum.
And the final piece of advice seems critical. Don't overload your life with change.
It's non-negotiable. Selling the business is a massive identity-shattering event. That's enough change. The recommendation is to wait at least 6 months before any other huge life changes.
So don't sell your house, start a new relationship, and move across the country all at once.
Please don't. That's just a recipe for a psychological disaster, one massive transition at a time.
So really the big takeaway here is that this is a long-term process of reinvention. It's not instant happiness.
You have to embrace curiosity. You have to accept that it takes time. The research suggests it can take an entrepreneur 5 to 7 years to really find their footing and a new sense of purpose again. But if you approach it with a plan and some self-compassion, those can be the best years of your life.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. It's so clear that the financial part of an exit is almost secondary. The actionable steps are right there. Acknowledge the grief, plan your future before you sell, and communicate.
That's it. The exit is only half the deal. The emotional transition needs the same rigorous planning as the financial one. If you do that work, the wealth can actually lead to a fulfilling life, not an empty one.
What really stands out to me is that if your identity is completely tied to your work, no amount of money can fix the hole that's left when the work is gone. So we'll leave you with a final thought from our sources. If your professional role disappears, what's your governance plan for your own identity? What values will guide you and ensure your purpose and your mental health last long after the money arrives? Maybe start thinking about that today. We'll see you on the next deep dive.
Thank you from all of us at Murphy Business Sales for taking the time to learn about this important topic. We look forward to working together to achieve your business aspirations. For more information or a complimentary consultation for sell-side services, visit us at murphybusiness.com/Edison and complete our Contact Us form.